If you're over 60, there's something you need to hear, because what's on your plate could be quietly working against your prostate. It might surprise you, many men try to make better food choices with age, cutting back on red meat, eating more fruit, swapping snacks for something natural. But did you know that even fruit, yes fruit, can sometimes make prostate issues worse? Let me tell you about someone who learned that the hard way. Alan, 68, was a retired mail carrier, fit for his age. He didn't drink, kept up with light walking, and had even started drinking green smoothies. But lately he was waking up 3 or 4 times a night. The urge to pee came fast and wouldn't go away. He'd stand there in the bathroom waiting, hoping, only to feel a slow trickle. His wife began sleeping in the guest room, not out of frustration, but because he kept her up all night. At first, Alan blamed age. It's just what happens after 60, he told himself. But when it started affecting his mornings, his confidence, and even his sense of manhood, he finally came in to see me. What we discovered together wasn't cancer. It wasn't an infection. It was an enlarged prostate, a condition called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. And believe it or not, part of the problem was hiding in his fruit bowl. See, Alan had been eating more pineapple. He read that it was full of vitamin C and enzymes, and while pineapple can be healthy for some men over 60, especially those with prostate sensitivity, it can backfire. Here's why. Impeccable is packed with natural sugars, especially fructose. Now, these aren't like the white sugar you spoon into your coffee, but your body still processes them in a way that can fuel inflammation. And the prostate? It's extremely sensitive to inflammation, especially if it's already a bit enlarged. Then there's bromelain, an enzyme in pineapple, often praised for its anti-inflammatory powers, but for older men it can increase blood flow to the pelvic area. Not always a good thing. Think of it like pouring gasoline on a fire that's already smoldering. And don't forget pineapple's acidity, that sweet tart flavor that wakes up your taste buds. It can irritate the bladder and urinary tract, making urgency and frequency worse. That's what happened with Alan. He thought he was helping his body, but every slice of pineapple was nudging his prostate into more swelling, more tension, and more nighttime trips to the bathroom. Now, I'm not saying pineapple is evil. A slice now and then won't ruin your life, but if you're dealing with frequent urination, urgency, or dribbling, it might be time to step back and test how your body responds without it. Try swapping in blueberries or pears, fruits that are gentle on the bladder, low in sugar, and rich in anti-inflammatory antioxidants. You might be surprised how much better your nights and your confidence can feel with one small change. And pineapple isn't the only sneaky culprit in the fruit aisle. There's another one, bright, tangy, and part of nearly every American breakfast that could also be quietly irritating your prostate. What about you? Have you noticed your symptoms flare up after certain foods? Let's talk about the next fruit that may seem innocent, but could be fueling your discomfort. Let's talk about oranges and citrus fruits. They seem like the healthiest choices you can make. Bright, refreshing, loaded with vitamin C, the kind of fruit we've been told to enjoy every day since we were kids. But for men over 60 who are dealing with a swollen prostate or nightly bathroom visits, citrus might be doing more harm than good. Take George, for example. He's 73, a widower who started every morning the same way. Warm oatmeal, a glass of orange juice, and half a grapefruit. It was his little ritual. Simple, consistent, and comforting. But over the past few years, George noticed something strange. He'd make it to bed fine, but like clockwork, he'd be up every 2 hours, sometimes even more. He tried cutting off water after 6 p.m, tried emptying his bladder before bed. Nothing worked. He came to me exhausted and frustrated. When we looked at his diet together, it hit us. The amount of citrus he was taking in each morning wasn't harmless. In fact, it was irritating his system from the inside out. Here's what most men don't realize. Citrus fruits, oranges, grapefruits, lemons, limes, are highly acidic. That tang that wakes you up in the morning, it can irritate the lining of your bladder and prostate. That irritation triggers a reflex response in your body, leading to urgency, frequency, and even that uncomfortable feeling of not fully emptying. It's like pouring lemon juice on a paper cut. Your body wants to flush it out fast. And just like pineapple, citrus fruits are also rich in natural sugars. For a younger man with a strong metabolism and no prostate issues, that's not a big deal. But in an aging body where hormone levels are shifting and inflammation is already simmering beneath the surface, those sugars can quietly feed the fire. It's no wonder George was up all night. So what did we do? We didn't ban citrus altogether, that would have been too extreme and unnecessary. Instead, we simply scaled back. He swapped orange juice for diluted apple cider vinegar water or herbal tea. Grapefruit gave way to sliced apples or berries, which offered antioxidants without the harsh acidity. And just like that, within 2 weeks, George started sleeping longer stretches. His urgency faded. He felt more in control of his body again. That's the power of paying attention. Listen, I know it's confusing. We're told all our lives that fruit is good for us, and it is, in moderation, and when chosen wisely. But when you're over 60 and your prostate is already acting up, it's time to think differently. Your body is wiser now. It needs gentle support, not aggressive stimulation. So if you're feeling the urge often, waking up multiple times, or just not feeling quite right, try taking a break from daily citrus and see what happens. You've got nothing to lose, except maybe a few extra trips to the bathroom. And there's more. There's a fruit that's even more common than citrus, more harmless in appearance, and it's likely sitting on your counter right now. Let's talk about this next quiet culprit and how it might be affecting your hormone balance in ways you never imagined. Let's talk about bananas. Yes, that soft, friendly, yellow fruit most of us have eaten since childhood, the one doctors often recommend for heart health, digestion, and energy. But for older men dealing with an enlarged prostate, bananas might come with an unexpected downside. I remember one patient clearly. Thomas, 70. He was disciplined. He walked every day, drank plenty of water, and prided himself on having 1 or 2 bananas a day for potassium and energy. But over time, Thomas noticed something odd. He felt more pressure in his lower belly. Not pain exactly, just a heavy, congested feeling. And when he lay down at night, he often had to sit up again to pee. Once, then twice, then 4 times. His nights felt like an endless rotation between bed and bathroom. When he came in to see me, we ran some tests. No infection, no cancer. His prostate was enlarged, not severely, but enough to cause trouble. Then we talked about food. I asked him to list everything he ate regularly. That's when we realized just how often bananas were showing up. Here's the thing. Bananas are rich in potassium, which is great for the heart. But potassium also affects fluid balance in the body. In younger men, the kidneys handle it well, but after 60, kidney function starts to slow down a little. That means excess potassium, even from a healthy fruit, can lead to fluid retention, especially around the lower abdomen and pelvic floor. Now imagine that extra fluid pushing against a prostate that's already a little swollen. That's like adding a pillow on top of a balloon. Pressure builds up, and you feel it every time you try to urinate. There's another subtle piece too. Bananas contain plant sterols. These are compounds found in nature that mimic hormones in small ways. That's not necessarily dangerous, but for men with age hormonal shifts, especially drops in testosterone, even small changes in balance can influence inflammation and prostate behavior. It's not that bananas are bad. In fact, for many men, a banana a day is fine. But if you're having 2 or more a day, thinking you're doing your body a favor, it might be time to rethink. I told Thomas to try something simple. Keep his morning banana, but skip the second one later in the day, and just like with George, things began to shift. Fewer wake-ups, less pressure, a body that felt lighter, more cooperative. It's the power of gentle adjustment. You don't need to throw out your bananas, just tune in to how many and how often. If your body is giving you signs, like that nagging nighttime urge or the feeling of never fully emptying, don't ignore it. Your prostate is trying to tell you something. And believe it or not, the story doesn't end here. There's another fruit, the ultimate symbol of summer. Juicy, sweet, seemingly harmless. But for many older men, this one fruit might be flooding your bladder with more than just water. Let's explore fruit number 4, and how timing might be just as important as the choice itself. Let's talk about watermelon. That summertime favorite. Cool, juicy and refreshing, the fruit of picnics, porch swings and childhood memories. But for men over 60, struggling with frequent urination or prostate pressure, watermelon may not be as harmless as it seems. Let me introduce you to Leo, 72. He was a retired trucker, tall and tough, the kind of guy who rarely complained. But when he finally came in to see me, he looked tired, not sick, just worn down. He said, "Doc, I feel like I live in the bathroom." Leo wasn't a drinker. He didn't drink soda or coffee after 5 p.m. But he had a habit. Every evening after dinner, he'd slice a big wedge of watermelon. It helps with hydration, he told me. And that's where things got interesting. Watermelon is over 90% water, and for most people, that's great. But for a man with an enlarged prostate who already struggles to empty his bladder fully, it can be a hidden problem. Think of your bladder like a sink. Now, imagine the drain is partially blocked. That's what happens when the prostate presses on the urethra. It slows down the flow. Now dump a gallon of water into that sink. You're going to flood it fast. That's what watermelon does to an aging bladder. It overloads the system. It's not just about fluid either. Watermelon contains natural sugars, including fructose, the same kind that can quietly fuel inflammation throughout your body. For someone with benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, even small increases in inflammation can amplify discomfort. And here's the part most men don't think about. Timing matters. Leo was eating his watermelon at night, just an hour or 2 before bed, so all that fluid hit his kidneys and bladder right when his body was trying to settle into rest. That meant more urgency, more bathroom trips, less deep sleep. Once we looked at the pattern, Leo made a change. He still enjoyed his watermelon, but he moved it to midday instead of evening. Just that shift alone led to fewer nighttime wake-ups. He slept better, felt clearer, and had more control. Watermelon isn't the enemy. It's still rich in lycopene, a compound that's actually beneficial for prostate health. But too much too late in the day can cause more stress than support. So here's my suggestion. If you love watermelon, enjoy it earlier in the day and in modest amounts. Or try pairing it with a protein or healthy fat, like a handful of walnuts, to slow absorption and balance your blood sugar. These tweaks may sound small, but they matter. Listening to your body's rhythm, respecting its new limits and nourishing it gently, that's how you age with power, not frustration. And before we finish, there's one more fruit we need to talk about. It's tiny, sweet, easy to eat by the handful. but for some men it may be causing more bladder irritation than you realize, especially if you're eating it on autopilot. Let's uncover the final fruit and the surprising reason it might be keeping you up at night. Let's talk about grapes, fruit number 5. They seem so innocent, small, sweet and easy to snack on. You can grab a handful and feel like you're making a healthy choice. And to be fair, grapes do have their benefits: antioxidants, hydration, even heart support. But for older men managing an enlarged prostate, grapes can quietly stir up trouble. I remember Harold, 69, he came to me after a few months of increasing urgency, not just at night, but even during the day. "Doc," he said, "I plan my errands around bathrooms now. I never used to." He was tired, embarrassed, and felt like his independence was slipping. He didn't smoke, didn't drink much coffee, but when we talked through his diet, something stood out: grapes. Bags of them in the fridge, he'd snack on them throughout the day, and especially in the evening while watching TV. They were his go-to. Here's what I explained to Harold, and what I want to share with you too. Grapes are deceptively sugary. Their sweetness is natural, sure, but when you eat a dozen or 2 dozen at a time, that sugar adds up fast. And sugar fuels inflammation. For a prostate that's already tender or enlarged, that sugar surge can act like lighter fluid on glowing embers, flaring things up subtly but consistently. There's more. Grapes also contain tannins, natural plant compounds that can irritate the bladder lining. For some men, this irritation is so mild they don't even notice. For others, it can increase the feeling of urgency, frequency, or that frustrating sensation of never fully emptying. It's the kind of discomfort that builds slowly but takes a toll on your confidence and sleep over time. What helped Harold wasn't cutting out grapes entirely, but being mindful. He limited his intake to a small serving earlier in the day and switched his evening snack to blueberries or sliced apple with almond butter. Fruits with lower sugar and more prostate-friendly properties. Within a few weeks he was sleeping longer and, more importantly, feeling in control again. And that's the heart of this message. This isn't about giving up everything you love. It's about listening to your body, adjusting with care, and realizing that even small changes, like switching a fruit, can bring surprising relief. Let's take a moment now to bring everything together. You've just learned about 5 fruits: pineapple, citrus, banana, watermelon, and grapes, that may quietly aggravate your prostate, especially if you're dealing with frequent urination, nighttime wake-ups, or bladder discomfort. But knowledge isn't just power, it's peace. You don't need to change everything overnight. Just start with one change. Maybe that means moving watermelon to the afternoon, or swapping your banana for berries, or skipping the orange juice at breakfast and reaching for herbal tea instead. These choices aren't punishments. They're acts of care, of reclaiming your energy, your dignity, and your peace of mind. You deserve nights of deep, restful sleep, days without constantly scanning for the next restroom, confidence that your body is working with you, not against you. So here's my invitation. Pay attention, make one small shift, and trust that your body, even now, can heal, adapt, and support you. You've lived too much life to feel this kind of discomfort every day. Let's help you live the next chapter with comfort, clarity, and strength. And if this spoke to you, even in a small way, I'd be honored to hear your story. What changes have helped you feel better lately?